Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people where one person is an Aries sun or moon and the other is a Capricorn sun or moon. And I'm including the moon signs because sometimes they can present quite similar in some of the traits. There are going to be subtle differences, but not enough to make it not accurate. So I wanted to make it even more than, far reaching than it normally would be. So, what we have here are two cardinal signs. Aries is a cardinal fire sign, and Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign. Fire and earth are very, very different elements, typically not compatible with each other. That doesn't mean that two people who have these elements can never get along. That would be silly to say something like that. But there are going to be major differences, and that means adjustments. And this would be true for any type of relationship, whether it be parent and child, or just platonic friends. So the bottom line is that what you want to think about here, if you're talking about romantic relationship, is having tolerance for another person who is quite different from you, and not, and therefore having patience with that. And so these two signs square off, and this means that there is kind of tension between two people, but at the same time there can be physical attraction. So this can be the catalyst, if you will, of how these two people kind of cross paths. I was thinking about how an Aries and Capricorn person might meet in the first place, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the office or through some kind of career situation, because Capricorn falls in Aries' 10th house of career. So I could see somebody who's an Aries person being helped by the Capricorn individual. Now, I mean, you could go as far as even saying that the Capricorn is the boss of the Aries person, or, in some position of authority, because the 10th house can be authority figures. And this, of course, can create its own set of issues, because there may be this power imbalance that is going on. But in general, they may have in common some kind of business dealings or, career situation going on, and that may be what really allows them to cross paths, but also gives them something in common. These are two people who are movers and shakers in their own way. And this is because they are both ambitious. Aries and Capricorn, being cardinal signs, they are people who take action in life. They don't just sit around and hope that something's going to happen. They are willing to take action to make it happen. And this is something that not every sign does. And so therefore there can be, a lack of compatibility between either one of these signs and another sign that's more passive, because the Aries or Capricorn individual may, sometimes secretly judge their partner as not doing enough to become successful. So, when people are ambitious, it's not uncommon for them to want to push their partner in the same vein as they are, and kind of almost look down on them if they're not trying to better themselves. At least that's how they perceive it. And yet, and therefore, I should say, this combination, they're already on the same page. They already think the same way. So, therefore, this is something they have in common, and that is always good when you have like an attitude in common or interests in common. And both of these signs, being ambitious, will be concerned with success. Now, one thing that I will say that can create issues, and sometimes major issues eventually, is the fact that the Aries person may seem too irresponsible for the Capricorn person. And what I mean by this is not simply, not paying your bills or something like that. It can be because the Aries person is living in the moment. A Capricorn person tends to be a planner. They tend to think ahead. They tend to be very organized and disciplined and on task. Aries is great at starting things, but not so great at finishing them. So that can, drive a Capricorn person crazy, because Capricorns can be very methodical. And that means that they do, they are very intentional with each step that they do. Aries people tend to be very impatient. So they just want to cut to the chase, and sometimes they may cut corners or to try to get ahead, and they end up being kind of sloppy in what they're doing because they can't sustain interest in something. They're great at initiating things, and they're also great at being creative, but they tend to, I think, do better if they have somebody to kind of be the cleanup crew who keeps things going. And that's not necessarily something that you can do with your partner. But this is why I said at the beginning that I think that, if these two people are on the same page, they can really work well together in terms of creating a successful endeavor. Whether it can sustain itself romantically is a different story, but the Aries person is very creative, but not necessarily committed to doing things on time or what have you, because it's not because Aries is just completely incapable of it. It's because living in the moment means that the Aries person can do something very spontaneously, capriciously, and maybe say, oh, I'll take care of that other thing tomorrow. The Aries is like a big kid. Capricorn was born old, and they say that Capricorn gets younger as he or she gets older. So they tend to loosen up when they get to a certain position of power or success. And then they can kind of relax. But as they're climbing that ladder of success, they are taking life very seriously. And Aries can appear to be immature, and this immaturity, that's a relative, term, and it's all about perception, because being spontaneous doesn't make somebody immature or, like childish, if you will. It's really about embracing that inner child. Capricorn may have a hard time with that. Capricorn probably has a hard time with spontaneity, including self-expression, including being able to just let their hair down. Capricorn, I could see a Capricorn person, not like a male, having a hard time wearing t-shirts because they just like to dress more formally. Again, yes, that is a generalization, but just to kind of illustrate what I mean. And therefore, Aries will find Capricorn too serious. And that can be that clash where one person doesn't understand the other because they don't know where they come from. Now, even if you can accept that the other person is different than you, it just may be a drag. The Aries person may find the Capricorn person to be a wet blanket, and the Capricorn person may find the Aries to be like a loose cannon, to be maybe too volatile emotionally sometimes. Capricorn likes to be rational. It's an earth sign. And people like that tend to be leery of people who come across as very emotional, even passionate, because that isn't something that really appeals to them. Again, we're talking about earth and fire. And earth, I said before, that water puts out fire, well, so does earth. You can throw earth on fire and put it out. And you can't set earth on fire. So both of these things, the earth sign can put out that enthusiasm of the fire sign, and the fire sign cannot inspire sometimes the earth because they are just coming from they're grounded, but they can't seem to aspire to that, to the level where the flames are expansive, and that doesn't mean that either one is wrong. It just means that they have different functions, and those functions may not be able to find a common ground. Maybe they can, if other factors determine it. And then the last thing I wanted to mention that could be a challenge is power struggles, because they're both cardinal signs. And cardinal signs in the workplace tend to gravitate towards positions of authority where they can call the shots over others. It doesn't always have to be that they have power, tyrannical tendencies or anything like that. It can simply be that they just are natural leaders, and they, within themselves, are very self-motivated. So they don't need somebody to tell them what to do. And yet other people do need somebody to guide them sometimes. So it works out that way. And here you have two people who have those tendencies that are coming together. Who's going to be able to boss the other one around? Both want to be the boss. So that can be very problematic if you're dealing with, especially if you're dealing with two immature people. If one of the people is immature, that can be problematic because they will naturally want to be the one who calls all the shots in the relationship. And relationships have to be mutual. They have to be respectful towards the other person, obviously, and wanting to have things your own way is just not respectful. So being able to cooperate and to see that another's needs sometimes have to come first is very crucial. But some people make it work. We can't just write off these types of relationships. I'm just here to show what can happen sometimes. And also, I did say some things that I feel could be positive between the two people and where they might have common ground. So, it's really interesting. It's fun to do these because there are some things that every two signs does have in common, even if they seem like they're a complete odd couple. And so I hope that you enjoyed this. If you need somebody to look at the dynamics in your relationship with another person, or any other type of reading, please click the link below. That takes you to my online ordering page, so you can see what types of readings I offer. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.